everyone, and welcome to the December 12th, 2023 school board meeting. It's the last time I get to do that. Okay, at this point, I'd like a motion. Oh, no, at this point, never done this before. I'm going to lead us in the flag salute. Will everybody please stand? Right hand over your heart. Yeah, ready to begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Is your mic on? Yes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda. Oh, this is the sad part. Okay, at this point, I'd like a motion to appoint Dr. Stepanowski as
So
the
moved.
temporary chairman of tonight's meeting. Nice. May I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now you get to pass that over to him. Okay.
My favorite part of the year, right here.
What?
10 minutes. No city manager gets
Probably
this, I
not at
think.
5.
Just the superintendent. Smart. Don't give it to the city managers. Madam President, members of the board, the first part of my temporary chairpersonship, which should last a very short amount of time, would be to recognize our outgoing president, Ms. Stein. Ms. Stein's got her speech ready. Let's go. Do I take the gavel with me, Ms. Stein? What do I do?
No, you don't need the gavel. I don't want you to hit me with it.
Jim, can you start the 3-minute timer, please?
Only 3 minutes, Ms. Stein. So we also have Ms. Cupbill, our vice president, joining us as well. I wanted to start off the recognition of Ms. Stein. And so Cabinet collected a few facts. So I'll get the serious part over first. That we do seriously appreciate your leadership. You lead with heart. You lead with a clear focus on children. You really do. That matters. There's lots of things that happen, lots of noise. Things go well, things don't go well. But you focus on the children. You focus on supporting staff. Your heart is always there, which is just a wonderful guiding value for all of us. We fall right in alignment of that, and so that really is the best way to be of service and focused on the children, focused on the entire community. Ms. Stein, we can't thank you enough for that.
So you don't have to do the funny part.
So we collected a few stats from the entire year. These are things, Ms. Stein, that happened on your watch, and these are actually
Are they things I said?
things that have occurred. These are things that have occurred on your watch, as we say in the Navy. You've had an excellent watch for an entire year, but these are things that staff have gathered for me. These are factual. It may be hard at times to believe they're factual, but these are not made up. So a couple things, many exciting things to be proud of. First off, we've had 15,000 hours of professional development this past year on your watch. We've hired 77, we're the largest employer in the region, 77 new employees, 46 of those, on top of that, 46 substitute teachers. We've had 202 teachers and administrators served by Center edX. Many people may know we're the only public school district in the state of California who's accredited by the California Teaching Commission. So we clear credentials, we offer admin credentials, and we're adding a special ed credential coming up soon. We have 20 districts across the state working with us. 50, wow, including county offices of education. So your district is single-handedly helping deal with the teacher shortage and admin shortage. We've also had 352 micro-credential courses taken. Transitional kindergarten, something near and dear to your heart, Ms. Stein, has grown by 30%, or about 100 students just this past year, and we've added 7 additional classrooms across the district, which is phenomenal. Under your tenure, we've recognized 16 Employees of the Month, recognized 56 staff members in the Tribute to Educators. If you're hungry or thinking about food, we have cake back there. And also, every day of school during your tenure, Ms. Stein, we served 3,690 meals per day for a total of 334,526. It's a lot of food. Scholar athletes that have graduated, 260 scholar athletes graduated, and that is a scholar athlete with a 3.5 GPA or higher. I think I knew one of those scholar athletes last year. Overnight field trips, we've had 48 overnight field trips. And this is super exciting. I think we'll all celebrate this one. 690 fifth graders got to return to overnight outdoor education this past year, which is super exciting and was a joy to see. Something else, a brand new high school bail schedule. I think by the way, since we, no controversy whatsoever. I think the students and staff at Calabasas and Gore want to make a statue out of that for this one. And by the way, we have council members in the audience. We do also think that this is going to help reduce traffic because you're going to split your students coming, your drop-offs and your pickups are going to be split maybe to about 20 or so, 30% effect. So excited about that. We've had the biggest enrollment shift in my 20 years, could be longer than that. We were projecting to go down about 300 students, and we actually went up 500. So yeah, about 90% of the state is in declining enrollment and not Las Virgenes. We passed a bond right before you took over, but we funded the first part of the bond. $85 million of that bond was funded. We got our bond rating at AA1, which is the highest possible rating for us to receive, which is fantastic, which will save taxpayers a lot of money. We paid, and this gets you, I know you get excited about this all the time, we have a certificate of participation or some debt. We paid that off, $8.3 million in debt we paid off early. If you're thinking about entertainment, our performing arts centers sold 43,400 tickets to student performances just this past year. Emails, some people ask about emails. During your presidency, the district sent 2.36 million emails. That's an excellent question. I think I heard Alicia Weintraub say the same thing. How many emails did Leslie Stein send? I got that number from Mr. Klein, 3,027. What's that, Alicia? How many did she send to Dan? To Dr. Stepanowski? You've sent 3,027 emails this past year. Total. The number to me? 1,400. 1,400 emails to the superintendent. Wow. You can't fire him, he works for me.
That's right.
Jim Klein got a pay raise. How much? So the next question is, how many emails to cabinet on Saturday and Sunday morning? We actually didn't pull that number. I just wanted to scare you. I could make something up, though. And just breaking today, Ms. Stein, on your last day as president, and this is amazing news, Las Virgenes was awarded Career Technical Ed Incentive Grant for $564,000. That happened today. There you go. I think Ms. Cutbill has a few words.
Thank you. Dr. Stepp went into the details, but really, the board we're always faced with constant change. There's change every year. Our finances fluctuate with the state, with grant funding, with other funding. Curriculum is in constant change. The laws change. We deal with safety issues, lockdowns. We lost a beloved member of our admin team this year. You also had to see us through the replacement of a beloved board member who passed. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it is the one thing we know is every time we think we've seen it all, we haven't seen it all. I've said this before about Ms. Stein. She is a great board member. She really gets the job. She's big picture, but she cares about the small details. She really cares about every student and about supporting our teachers and giving them what they need and supporting our staff. But she is an amazing, excellent board president. It is a different skill set, and she is so very good at that, that the only way I can be dragged kicking and screaming into the job is that I closely follow her in the rotation, and I've seen it being done very well by her always. She's communicative with the board, with the district, with parents. She's always focused on how do we improve things, how do we stay positive, how do we see the big picture, what are we really trying to achieve. And so we love to tease and we have a good time here, but we so appreciate the job you do as president. It isn't just a title. You are a model for the rest of us, and I'm very grateful for that. I know that my fellow board members would all like to say a few words too.
I guess starting with me. Dan, you didn't track how many phone calls Leslie had to me this year either. I wanted to say what Ms. Cuckville said about Leslie being a model president. Really, I see this much more this time around than I did before. Not that you weren't always a model president, but the time you take to always respond to an email from the community, from staff, from anybody, but especially from the parents. It just, makes me feel proud to be a board member where parents can write in concerns and you respond promptly and you do your research when that's necessary or you refer them somewhere else. And it's really great, all the time and effort that you've put into that and making your, going around to the community and all the events. So thank you. It's great to be working with you again. Thank you.
And you're staying for another 4 years?
12 months, but who's counting?
I will just echo everything that was said. I feel very blessed to have spent the last year with you. Is probably one of the more, I think, consequential years of the last at least 10 that I've been on the school board, with challenges across the district that were new for a lot of us, staff included. And I think, I was trying to find the right quote to pull it together, and I turned to Bono. So I'm going to read a little quote from Bono that I think describes how you lead things. And says, Bono said, "To be one, to be united is a great thing, but to be respectful of the rights to be different is maybe even greater." And you do a great job at allowing us to have different points of view, sometimes in closed session, some helping us find the right way, sometimes on one of those 3,300 emails or the 10,000 phone calls or the texts. But you do a great job at helping us kind of move along and having it be okay and safe to have a different point of view, but then still trying to get us to that point that Dan mentioned in his comments, where we get to a kid-centered perspective at the end of the day. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you were board president this last year. I'm grateful that we're going to have, most likely, a well-seasoned hand stepping in next, but thank you for all that you've done.
Yeah, Leslie, you continue to impress me. You're always process-focused and protocols, and you don't shy away from uncomfortable discussions. You reach out to the community. You take those parent emails, and you take them seriously, and I think the cabinet will agree. You're not afraid to pick up the phone and call them or email them and say, "Hey, we've got a problem here, and what can you do to help us out?" And so you amaze me with your energy and your timelessness, and thank you for everything that you've done for us this year.
And on behalf of the district and the board, we also have another gift for you as well, but we have something for you to put in this. We have this crystal vase, Leslie Stein, President, in appreciation of your extraordinary term of office, Los Virgenes Unified School District 2023. Thank you, Leslie.
Relax. Got some time. Oh, we so appreciate our city council and communities from the members from the community coming out tonight, and they've got a few things I want to say as well, Ms. Stein. So from the city of Calabasas, Mayor David Shapiro, Mayor Pro Tem Alicia Weintraub, Councilmember Peter Kraut, and that's it.
No respect at all. Okay. Thank you very much. We're thrilled to be here, all three of us. I'll just speak on behalf of the entire city council, and then we'll each say something. Would you please email me your speech, because we do have to go to the menorah lighting. We won't get to hear it.
Hurry up.
All right, I'm sorry. We just want to thank you for everything you've done the past year. I know, among other things, your number one priority is the safety of our children, all of our children in the community, and that is of the utmost importance to our council as well. We truly appreciate everything you and the entire board have done in that regard, and we look forward to continuing to work together and doing great things for our community. I will be short. We have something you've probably never seen before, I'm sure, a certificate signed by all 5 council members, which you can so proudly put up wherever you'd like. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything that you did this year as board president. A lot of times people reach out to me and I say, wait, that's a school issue, not a city issue. Email the board. And they're like, who? And I check with you. They're like, have them email me. And you email them, you call them, and later that day people are like, I can't believe the board president called me. They're like, it means so much, and I know how much you care about the students and everything that you've done, and just how parents just feel that connection to our schools because you put that face forward. And we're just so grateful for the relationship we have with the entire board, and I love working together with you. I know that's not going to change, but again, thank you for everything you've done this year, and especially with all the crises happening in the world, the fact that our students feel so safe here is a testament to the school board and under your leadership. So thank you so much.
And just briefly, without repeating everything that's already been said, communication with you has been phenomenal. I can't think of another board member or officer in any place that has had such a free and open communication with me. I love our phone calls, our little texts, our coffees together. Just being able to communicate with the school district so that the city can form a solid working relationship. That's been a fabulous thing that you've done for us this year. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
365 days. That comes about to about 5 emails a day. Next from the city of City of Agora Hills, Mayor Lise Buckley Weber, Mayor Pro Tem Penny Sylvester, Councilmember Chris Anstead, Councilmember Jeremy Wolf, City Manager Nathan Hamburger, and Assistant Manager Ramiro Aniba.
Rah, rah, Team Agora. I will start by, as the mayor, speaking on behalf of the council and saying, first of all, I have never seen somebody take away the residents' tennis courts with such poise. And you're such a great communicator when we all contacted you nonstop about tennis courts. But truly, you did a great job this past year, as you always have. It's always a treat to work with you. You are very responsive. A tree went down at Sumac. I was walking by it, and it was cleaned up that day. I contacted, thank you. You've just always been there for us. Our city gets along great with you. We have such an open communication with all of you, and we couldn't be happier. And still to this day, people still move out to the city of Agora Hills because of the schools. So thank you for what you do. We know it's hard work, and we know it's always a challenge. So good luck to you as a regular school board member. I'm sure you will still be a leader in your own right. Thank you, Leslie.
Well, Leslie and I don't have to text, call, or email because I live across the street. So I just knock on her front door. Leslie, we have been collaborators for years, and I hope for many more. So it's not going to stop now. Thank you.
Leslie, I want to thank you for your leadership this last year. And actually, one of the things I want to bring up is involving the second graders. So the second graders from Mariposa came to the city hall, and I got a chance to read to them. And it was one of the most touching moments as mayor that I had. And the question that I repeat, that I talk about the most, is they ask you, first question was like, how old are you? And so I made sure, one of the things, I asked them how old they were, and I said I expect them to run for city council in 10 years from now. So I thought that was great. But I really enjoyed the interaction with the schools, and you had great leadership this last year. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. You got it. Nope.
So I'm a little biased towards Las Virgenes, but this is truly, I think, the best school district in the state. And under your leadership and previous leadership, it continues to be the reason why people move out here and want to be in this region, and why quality of life is so high. And you guys have continued to handle every disaster, every emergency, every pandemic. You're just so far ahead of the curve, and it's really appreciated. It's impressive, and thank you for your leadership.
and I look forward to serving with you and the rest of the board. So thank you so much for your time.
Miss Stein, if Agora brought up tennis courts, I can't wait to find out what Westlake's going to bring up. From the city of Westlake Village, Mayor Ray Pearl.
I was going to say, wow, Elise made it so easy to bring up fences, but I won't do that. Leslie, this is my first time ever having been the mayor of my city. And one of the things I did when I became mayor is you look across the region and who are in positions of leadership and who will I be working with very closely. The relationship between our city and the school district is critical. And it's how our residents feel about our city is partly, as Jeremy said, partly because of the school district. And all three of my kids have been through here, and so many of our residents have their students in our school district. And when I realized that you were going to be the board president, I said to myself, it couldn't be any better for me, because so much of what we do is based on relationships. And the theme that I have had for my year as mayor has been kindness. And I can think of nobody in this school district, and it's a board of kind people, a district of kind people, but you really exemplify that word in the way you lead with your heart. But also, Leslie, you are a problem solver. And we can joke about the fence, which has been, as you know, incredibly contentious, but the fact is there hasn't been a single moment where you haven't been willing to listen, to truly try to find a solution. And on behalf of our city council, just an incredible job well done, and it's been a true pleasure to work with you in my role, and the district has been lucky to have you in yours. Congratulations.
Okay, it's my turn.
They do, yep. From Assembly Member Jackie Irwin, we have a presentation from the California Legislative Assembly. So that's for you. Also, a little known fact about Miss Stein is she has a song. She has a favorite song. So as she comes to the microphone, I'd like Jim to maybe play that song for her for a second, and we can bask in it for a minute.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it took you till the last day.
That sounds like appreciation. Send me an email about it.
Thank you. That was a joke. When I was elected president, I said every time I come into the district office, I expect that to be played. I really don't have a huge ego. Just was funny, and it happened tonight. Okay. So everyone here, council members, really, you're friends. We've known each other for a long time, and I thank my colleagues who really all, thank you for your kind words. I'm so mad none of my family's here tonight. And I have a 3-page speech, and I haven't even started it yet. But my family is not here. My husband had surgery yesterday. My daughter's babysitting. But they don't get to hear people say nice things about me, right? All they get to do is ask me for things. So I'm going to make them watch it. But thank you to my colleagues, everybody my colleagues, on the dais here, part of cabinet, Dan, just cares so much for students and the employees. And like Ray said, it's really relationships. We all know that. It comes down to relationships. Our community is very solid and stable. We have council members, school board members who serve for a long time because it takes time to build these relationships and partnerships. And there's something that we don't take for granted. So we thank you all. Okay, so now I'm going to start. Boy, did the year fly by. It's been a true privilege to serve our community as president of the LVUSD School Board this year. We are living in such a challenging time. And diversion here, I digress. I wasn't going to bring up the tennis courts or the fence. I do not have this in my long speech, but we're living in such a challenging time, and I cannot think of anything more important than educating our youth. In the words of Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. I first want to acknowledge and thank our teachers, the entire staff at each of our schools, and everyone who works in our district. Our employees are a vital part of the mission of LVUSD, where we strive for academic excellence and emotionally safe schools. And I want to personally recognize all of our elected officials, and especially our local city council members who represent our cities and with whom we work very closely with. Thank you for your continued support for our schools in our district. It means the world to all of us. I was elated, let's see, is that where I am? Oh, yes. I was elated that LVUSD started this year on such a high note with the passage of Measure S, the largest bond measure in the history of our district. This reaffirmed that our residents trust the work that we are all doing here in LVUSD. And we are hard at work on those bond projects to enhance and improve our schools, as well as making them safer and more secure. We are ready for the rain. When is it coming? Jeremy, you work for the Water District. Is the rain coming? We're ready for the rain with new roofs, new HVAC systems are in the works, and solar will be installed at all of our schools by the end of 2024. Environmental stewardship continues to be important, and we look forward to being off the electrical grid, continuing our green initiatives. The safety, security, and emotional wellness of our students continues to be a priority. Emotional well-being is an integral part of student success, and we are committed to our counselors, counseling center, and important initiatives such as partnering with the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, this year on their program, No Place for Hate. My heart and my colleagues' hearts broke with the passing of our beloved board member, Kate Videra. She left a hole in our hearts and a tremendous loss to our board. I want to thank Jill Gaines for selflessly filling the vacancy on the board. Kate left a legacy of kindness that is embraced at all of our schools. This year, we named our kindness campaign after her, Kindness for Kate. All of our schools have kindness activities in which our students participate. We miss Kate's wisdom, expertise, and huge heart for our students. In Kate's memory, I encourage all of us to do acts of kindness each and every day. Our society needs more compassion and empathy. I want to thank the most extraordinary superintendent and cabinet, who apparently keeps track of everything I do. Dan, wherever you are. Oh, Dan. It was no surprise to me when you were named Superintendent of the Year for LA County. Your leadership style is inclusive and you're open-minded. You listen to different points of view, including mine, which I know makes you crazy at times. Thank you for your creativity, dedication, and commitment to excellence. Cabinet. I give you the cabinet. Cabinet, as board members, we spend a lot of time in meetings with each of you. I have never seen a more dedicated, engaged, and smarter group of people. Individually and collectively, you inspire me as you care so deeply for each and every student and every employee. I know this because I see it and we see it. I am grateful for your insights and knowledge. Thank you. To my colleagues, again, Jill, thank you for your willingness to serve once again. You have not only helped heal our pain, you hit the ground running without missing a beat. Thank you. Linda, thank you for your calmness, your steadiness. Watch your step. Those of you who don't know, Linda fell and broke her wrist this year. Watch your step, your steadiness, and I'm glad you're here and healing well, and your commitment to the success of our students. Dallas, thank you for stepping up and serving on new committees this year with enthusiasm. We all appreciate your points of view and your questions, and I mean that with love, I do. Angela, your keen perspective and sense of humor is appreciated and much needed. You and I came full circle this year, having served as the board liaisons to the Measure S campaign at the end of last year. And then we spent the beginning of this month at the California School Board Conference up in Sacramento presenting on successful bond measures. So thank you. I appreciate all my fellow board members, and it is really, truly an honor to serve with you. And I also have to thank my family, even though they're not here, and my friends, Karen's here, my friends for their support, because I could not do any of this, from being a board member to being president, without their support. You have my back always. You read my speeches always, and I thank you for that. It was another remarkable year for Las Virgenes. Our students have been accepted into colleges, universities, and top programs across the nation. Our superior academics, award-winning music and arts programs, as well as championship athletics are well respected across the state. We continue to be a destination district, and I'm proud to be part of this team who supports a myriad of options and opportunities for all students to succeed. I'm proud to have served as the president this year. Thank you all for being here tonight, and again, for all you do to support our school district and our students. I wish you all a beautiful holiday season filled with light, love, kindness, and peace. Thank you.
We will now conduct the, oh, excellent.
It's only played for current presidents.
You playing that for Dan, because he's got the gavel? Okay.
Take anchors away. We will now conduct the election for president, vice president, and clerk, and each will be a separate vote. So it is my pleasure to ask, are there any nominations for the office of president?
I move that Angela Cutbill be nominated for the office of president.
I'll second.
There is a motion, there is a second. So Ms. Cutbill has been nominated and seconded for the office of president. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. By a vote of 5-0, has been Ms. Cutbill has been nominated for the office of president for the period of December 12th, 23 through December 10th, 2024. Congratulations, Ms. Cutbill.
Now you can play the music.
No, do not.
We will now conduct the nominations and voting for the office of vice president. Is there a nomination for the position of vice president?
I nominate Mr. Lawrence.
I'll second.
Mr. Lawrence has been nominated and seconded for the office of vice president. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By a vote of 5-0, Mr. Lawrence has been nominated and selected for the office of vice president for the period of December 12th, 2023, December 10th, 2024. Congratulations, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you.
And finally, for the office of clerk, are there nominations for the office of clerk?
I'd like to nominate Jill Gaines.
I'll second.
Ms. Gaines has been nominated and seconded for the office of clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. By a vote of 5-0, Ms. Gaines has been nominated and selected for the office of clerk for the period of December 12th, 2023, December 10th, 2024. Congratulations, Ms. Gaines.
I think it's a 4-year term.
As clerk, yeah.
It's now my pleasure to turn the gavel and meeting back to Board President, Ms. Cutbill.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Stapp. Consent reorganization, so you can see there's a number of items on consent. I assume we don't need to pull anything out separately. Dates and times of board meetings authorized. A lot of it's housekeeping, signatures, et cetera. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consent D approved. Action. These are always a highlight. Appointment of representative to the LA County School Trustees Association. They often have their meetings in Downey at 4 or 5 p.m. So good luck with that. Do we want to have a representative or do we want to rotate it? I think we've opted to not have a representative in the past and just whoever is able to attend.
I'm happy to go with that
Yeah.
precedent.
Okay, then we'll take no action. Same with Ventura County School Board Association.
Yeah, I think we could rotate that as well.
Right.
Okay,
I agree.
so we will take no action on those items. I now adjourn our reorg meeting. There's some good evening and welcome to the Las Virgenes Unified School Board meeting of December 12th, 2023. I do not need to do the flag salute because we had a brief reorganization meeting, did that earlier. So we will move right into returning to our regular session. I have nothing to report out of closed session, so we'll go to item 12, approval of minutes.
Oh, do you want a motion?
I would love a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from November 14th, 2023.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Board?
Aye.
I was present, but, oh, we're not making the changes yet, sorry. I was present for the meeting because I was absent. I was
You were,
remote.
we do need to, yeah.
So-
Oh, okay.
Well, let's,
Well, then amend that. So,
we'll amend the motion.
okay, I'll amend the motion to approve the minutes
You were
based on the
was
amendment
via
of,
remote.
I thought it listed that you were remote, but not for closed session.
Am I just reading it wrong? I'm reading call to order, meeting present, board members present, or is that just closed session?
Right, and then I think later it says,
Yes.
scroll down, I mean,
Okay,
here.
so we're good to go. Yeah,
can't talk.
Oh, I'm
participated
sorry.
from, you're correct.
I apologize. Okay, great.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines.
and did we all vote?
Yeah,
that
we
was at
did.
least a
We did,
second
so we
ago.
can leave
Okay.
it without amending.
Okay.
We didn't second an amendment. Okay, thank you. Staff board communication, Dr. Stepnoski.
Madam President, members of the board, a couple exciting things going on. First up, staff and board member Mengus joined us with the City of Westlake Village for their annual sing-along. That was a blast. 2 weekends ago, there's Little Drop in the photo with us, so we appreciate the opportunity to be out there supporting the City of Westlake Village and singing alongside council members. Next up. The Conejo Las Virgenes Future Foundation held its second Leadership Academy meeting. This is for second-year students in the leadership program. This was by interview and selection. There are 32 students from Las Virgenes, Conejo Valley, and Oak Park Unified School District. Phenomenal group of young students that Dr. Cyphers, Ms. Chambers, and I get a chance to interact with and support. In the second session, in the middle there, you can see Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin. She is the assembly person for our region, which I believe is the 42nd region. Almost 700,000 or so residents, essentially from Camarillo to Pacific Palisades. And so she shared her leadership journey, and when she joined the assembly, she was only part of the 20% of the assembly that was female. So she shared her leadership story and her journey, quite an inspiration with the students. And a joy. Next slide. It is the winter concert season. Mr. Lawrence and I got to enjoy the vocal choir at Calabasas last week. This, I believe, is Bear Rhythm in the Calabasas Performing Arts Center. So there's theater, there's performances at all our middle schools, high schools. I know Willow just had, I think, Wizard of Oz. So performances everywhere. Yes, you can cheer. So if you need to get into the, I can't imagine you would need to, but if you need a boost or a shot of energy for the holiday season, get out to any of our schools. The students, the talent on the stage and behind the stage will blow you away and warm your heart. And I think Ms. Stein mentioned this in the reorg, but at California School Boards Association, which was just 2 weeks ago, our board, our then board president and vice president got the invitation to speak and address other school board members from across the state of California on how to successfully pass a bond. Measure V missed by 103 votes back in 2022, March 2022. I think we all have March 2022 etched in our forever memories. But we came back 2 years later and passed Measure S, with almost 10% points above what was required. So they were invited to address board members. I can tell you it was standing room crowd only. They had to close and lock the doors. I can tell you that because they locked me out in the hallway, along with 10 other school board members who were trying to get in. Even though I said my school members are presenting and I have a chair, they still made me wait about 10 minutes. But it really was packed house for Ms. Stein and Ms. Cutbill, and a phenomenal presentation. Oh, if we could have some music, please. One of the cabinet members is graduating this weekend, so we're very excited for him. I think we have Pomp and Circumstance playing. Dr. Gleason. If you were curious, that is a slightly uncomfortable AI version of Dr. Gleason. Doesn't quite do him justice. But we went with it as we modeled and played with AI. Dr. Gleason is graduating from FICMAT, which is the Fiscal Crisis Management team. He's gone through CBO school, and so this weekend, I understand he's the keynote speaker, and he's in the top 17 of the class. There's 17 in the class. So congratulations, Dr. Gleason. And,
Yes, that is. You should share. That involves a lot of travel to, Sacramento? Or
Yeah, in
and
Sacramento,
just
Friday
a
night,
lot of
away from
time.
family.
So it is a huge achievement, yeah.
it is a significant commitment, and There's rumors that Dr. Gleason is providing 2 limericks to the graduating class, and also that you comprise 98% of the sense of humor among the 17 graduates. Madam President, we have 2 wonderful employees of the month we'd like to recognize. AC students with signs in the audience. Dr. Seifried, shall we?
Madam President, members of the board, each month LVUSD has the honor of honoring our employees of the month. We use our core dispositions such as perseverance, creating a collaborative community, and fostering a positive mindset as our criteria for these folks. Could not have more of an honor to be with Ms. Lori DeBolt and Mr. Carlos Ruiz this evening. 2 things that these folks have in common: the relationships that they build with students and staff. Ms. DeBolt, when we surprised her, her entire first and second grade class swarmed her. They were so excited. She's got students from all different grade levels in the past here tonight to share your recognition. It shows all the great things that you do for kids every day. Mr. Ruiz does such a wonderful job with our students and staff. The staff at SUMAC, as Ms. Logan is nodding there, is so much appreciative of all that you do to support them and our students with all sorts of different creative ideas to make sure that they're successful. So, without any further ado, would love to invite Ms. Liberty Logan to introduce our Classified Employee of the Month. And Mr. Ruiz, come on up as well.
Madam President, members of the board, distinguished cabinet, it is my pleasure to wholeheartedly introduce, with such honor, Carlos Ruiz. He exemplifies the core dispositions and the district values of empathy, grit, and maintaining a positive mindset. Carlos consistently demonstrates a student-centered approach, prioritizing the well-being and growth of every student under his care. His spirit of service towards the school community is truly commendable as he goes above and beyond to create a supportive and inclusive environment for all. Carlos is a role model of collaboration. He consistently shows the ability to work effectively with colleagues, fostering a sense of teamwork and unity among staff members. His willingness to share his knowledge and ideas greatly contributes to our positive working atmosphere. Carlos Ruiz is an exceptional behaviorist and one that we're very grateful to have at all of our school sites, so thank you so much for funding that. He embodies empathy, grit, and positivity and collaboration. He's an invaluable asset to our school community and a true advocate for the success and well-being of all of our students. Please help me and join me in celebrating Carlos Ruiz. Congratulations.
Carlos, on behalf of the Board of Education and the entire LVUSD district, we are very proud to have you as our employee. And when I think about how you especially established such amazing, meaningful connections with our high-risk students and our special needs students, it's so important. We are appreciative of everything you do every day, and it is wonderful to honor you today. Okay. Okay. You don't have to say a word. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Ms. Tiffany Reynolds and Ms. Lori DeBolt to the podium.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, cabinet, guests, and current and past Wildcats over there. It is with great pleasure and admiration that I stand before you today to honor Mrs. Lori DeBolt as the Certificated Employee of the Month. Mrs. DeBolt's journey this school year has exemplified her adaptability, positive mindset, and commitment to the students at Willow. This school year, Mrs. DeBolt gracefully embraced change, first by relocating her classroom to accommodate an additional TK class, and then by seamlessly transitioning to teaching a first and second grade split class after many years as a second grade teacher. Her optimistic response to these sudden changes reflected not only her professionalism, but also her unwavering dedication to the well-being of our students at Willow. Mrs. DeBolt has a gift for building meaningful relationships with the students that she has. When walking into Mrs. DeBolt's classroom, there is almost a tangible feeling of safety and warmth. In watching her teaching, it is evident that she values developing critical thinking in her students. Mrs. DeBolt exemplifies the kind of educator that we strive to have in LVUSD. Her adaptability, positive mindset, and dedication to our students and families are just some of her remarkable qualities. Congratulations, Lori, on being named Certificate Employee of the Month. You are truly a gift to our Willow community and to LVUSD.
Mrs. DeBolt, thank you so much on behalf of the board and the district. You know, changing classroom, changing level, these are not small things. These are big things for any teacher to have to do. And so much of education that I think sometimes people miss is relationships. And she embodies how to have terrific relationships with her colleagues, with her families, and with her students, and how great to see your students come out and support. So we are so pleased and so happy to honor you tonight. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the cabinet and the board members for this special honor. I feel very fortunate to have worked in this excellent school district for many years. Tiffany, thank you for your support and for recognizing the big and the small things that I do and valuing who I am as a person. Also, I want to thank my parents for their support and love. I know that you are so proud of what I do. And I'd like to thank my husband Bart and son Will for doing things in the classroom that I don't want to do, like laying down cord minders, setting up LED lights, and putting felt pads on every chair leg in the classroom, just to name a few. Thank you. Thank you also for being my biggest fans, and you two are the best things that have ever happened to me. Finally, I'd like to share a few pages from a book that I love to read at the beginning of the school year. It's called Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. And in first and second grade, we talk a lot about making text-to-self connections, and I really connect with the character Lily. It says, Lily loved school. She loved the pointy pencils, she loved the squeaky chalk, and she loved the way her boots went clickety-clickety-click down the long, shiny hallways. Lily loved the privacy of her very own desk. She loved the fish sticks and chocolate milk every Friday in the lunchroom. And most of all, she loved her teacher, Mr. Slinger. And the joy that Lily feels about school is the joy that I feel working with the staff and parent community at Willow, but especially the joy that I feel being in the classroom with my students. So thank you.
So if we could have the board join us down here for a photo. So we'll get a photo with our principals and our 2 employees of the month. Yeah, and then after one photo, we want all the kids and all their signs up here also for the second photo.
Sweet, does she have a ride home?
Okay.
Did you see how he beamed at his...
Who?
The teacher's
Yeah,
husband?
yeah.
Did you take a picture of him and send Bruce and David? This is how it's done.
I cook dinner every night and do the dishes, so I beam a lot.
You do?
Yes.
Very nice.
Survival instinct. She doesn't cook.
All right, continue on, staff board? Yes? All right.
Okay, that was great. Continuing on with staff board communication.
right, Ms.
Dr.
Klein.
Stepp.
Madam President, members of the board, a couple interesting things from the Ed Tech and Media teams. Last week, actually, was Computer Science Education Week. It's actually a new one for this year. It usually is when we have Hour of Code and all of that kind of stuff. It was much more sophisticated this year. This is an example of one of the items that we sent out to teachers. So every year when this happens, we like to send a bunch of resources and tools and content and things to teachers. So you see, we have all kinds of fun stuff here. We have, and you'll notice there's kind of an AI theme to everything here. So there was some AI in the classroom for our teachers in Khan Academy. There's some ChatGPT proof assignments and things like that. So we wanted to kind of cover some of the concerns that our teachers have, as well as create a lot of opportunities. You see there's coding activities at the top. Those were really nice because we had a lot of videos for them that they could show to their kids, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a shot, talking about computer science, careers in computer science, those sorts of things, trying to find ways that we can get kids excited about computer science last week. So that was a great week we had. Also, we are just about ready to launch our esports lab. You can see it right here. We've got all the cool esports chairs and the neat machines with all the lights inside them. We're about ready to rock with these. We are a member of CIF. So we will be competing statewide in the esports competitions. Once again, that's a great opportunity for our kids to get scholarships. There are a lot of our universities that provide scholarships for esports students. So getting our kids going with that, some of our kids who might not be into the regular sports, might not be into music and art, but they're really into esports, this gives them an opportunity, a great activity to learn to communicate, collaborate, work together, all of those kinds of things. And finally, the media team put together a nice little partnership with the LA Rams and Everfi, and we're calling right now, it's a digital readathon. We might change that to a learnathon. And this is a activity where our kids have the opportunity to learn about a lot of topics. In particular, the idea is that they will take these classes on Everfi. They're like little courses, a little bit of video, a lot of reading, where they're going to learn about things like, I'll read some of the topics here. There's the character playbook. There's the STEM career explorations. Future goals, math edition and science edition, financial literacy for middle schoolers, healthier me for middle school, digital wellness and safety. These have 6, 7, 8 lessons in each subject, and they can be up to 30 minutes apiece. And we're challenging kids to do as many of these as they can before March 27th. And your top 3 places are going to get something special from the Rams. The number 1 spot gets a personalized jersey, an actual Rams jersey personalized with their name and number on it. Second place is going to get a signed football, and third place gets a Super Bowl cap. So the kids are super excited about this. We just started sending this out in the last week or so. We talked to a couple of middle school kids who've engaged in this thing, and they said these lessons are no joke. So they're really actually having to put some time into it. There is a grand total of, I think it was 68 lessons or something like that they can possibly take. But it gives them kind of an opportunity to get ready for some of those things they're going to learn about in high school as well. So we're kind of giving them a little opportunity, giving them a little competition, getting them some reading. Our boys sometimes need a little competition to get them going on these reading things. So kind of a nice little way to move forward on some great literacy opportunities.
Ms. Chambers.
Madam President, members of the board, I wanted to highlight our instructional assistants who support transitional kindergarten. So we currently have 17 TKIAs assigned to sites, and then 1 roving IAs that supports any vacancies that we might have or absences. So Ms. Louthian and I hosted a training earlier this month, and there's a picture on the slide, for our IAs, where we covered relationships, hands-on approaches to learning, and then a play-based approach as well to TK. We'll be providing some additional trainings and opportunities for collaboration in the upcoming months, but it was a very positive experience and great to collaborate with our TKIAs.
Ms. Patterson.
Oh, I think I'll go. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, Ms. Davenport.
No problem. Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, lots going on in the elementary world. I think many of you were able to join our students at either Sumac, Mariposa, or at Willow Elementary for the Dairy Council of California's Mobile Classroom Assembly. where Ethel, live cow, showed up in the 35-foot trailer. Our students learned about how milk and dairy foods are produced and how they contribute to healthy eating. They also learned about agricultural technology and milk processing. I want to thank Kathy Soleimani and the principals for bringing this important assembly to the schools. Lupin and Yerba Buena's turns are coming up in March. My next slide is I wanted to be sure to give a quick shout out to the Elementary Math Adoption Committee for their hard work and professional expertise as they wrap up the Imagine Learning Illustrative Math Curriculum Pilot for Elementary. A few of the team members had already left, so there's a few faces missing from our committee. They did a great job in helping their respective schools navigate the challenges that are inherent to any pilot so that we could make an informed decision. They'll be meeting again soon after we return from winter break to set up the details of our second pilot, which will most likely be in the fall. More updates to come soon, but wanted the board to hear my great appreciation for this wonderful team of educators.
Ms. Patterson.
Madam President, members of the board, I wanted to give you a little update on our high school, four-year, and college planning. Everything that all of us do culminates in wanting our students to have the world of options open to them. At this point, class visits to all ninth grade students regarding grades and future planning, including graduation requirements, college requirements, and four-year planning, are near completion at both high schools. DF interventions began at the 5-week mark and continued at each grading period. The 15th week grading period is this week. Classroom visits to remind students of high school graduation versus college entrance requirements have started and will continue at all grade levels into January. And then an important update is that the newly redesigned FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, opens to families on December 31st for 12th graders entering college in fall 2024. This crucial financial aid form is supposed to be easier for families to fill out and link to their IRS information. In January, both Agora and Calabasas high schools will host a FAFSA line-by-line event to assist our families to have a FAFSA form ready to submit by the end of the meeting. So we're looking forward to those nights with our parents. And then I've just got a couple of nice pictures for you. This is Agora students enjoying, with Jessica Stein, the College and Career Center at Agora High School. And the next slide is a group of our freshmen working through four-year plans with Emily Ritchie. And so our students are really engaged. They care about their futures, and there's a lot to learn. And there's a lot we go over with them multiple times as they mature through the grade levels.
Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm so excited. I'm choked up. We received $600,000 today, approximately, of CTE incentive grant funding. That's a competitive grant that we apply for every year. It's a big part of our growing career technical education commitments, as well as our performing arts centers. And speaking of the latter, the performing arts centers, we had 43,000 guests see our students on stage in our performing arts centers just in the last 12 months. So the combination of being able to use these grant funds for kids to learn in those amazing spaces and getting the public in those spaces are both being achieved.
Dr. Cypress.
Madam President, members of the board, our human resources team is continuing to strive to build capacity in our administrative leaders. We have two different trainings this week for our administrative team. One of them on Thursday, Investigations 101, focusing on premise of student and staff safety. We also have our fourth installment of our new administrator support series, just for folks that are new to the roles this year. We'll be joined by our ed services team for that one on Friday. And then when we come back from break, we have a classified leadership series that we're launching, focusing on specifically our classified managers and their roles in building a positive culture and climate within the district.
Ms. Falk.
Madam President, members of the board, in September, the National Park Service was on the Mariposa campus doing a presentation and observed our beautiful campus and asked if they could put an owl box on the campus, which the district approved. Hopefully Jim has a picture. So we've captured lots of squirrels, we've captured lots of birds, we've captured a neighborhood coyote, but we actually captured an owl, and the kids are super excited, and I'm hoping Jim has the picture. Leslie shared it with us, remember, at Dan's party?
When you mean captured, you mean captured on a photograph only, correct?
Correct, in the box, yeah, yes. We have a box that takes pictures when things go by. So like I said, we've seen lots of squirrels and birds, but for the first time, we captured an owl that flew in, and the kids were very excited to see
And the
it.
box hasn't been up very long, right?
It was put up in October.
So already an owl?
Already an owl.
Exciting.
Exciting. We're very excited.
I want an owl box at home.
No picture, Jim? Okay.
We can return, when Mr. Klein can find it, we can return to it.
Please.
That concludes staff communication.
Thank you. Ms. Westerberg.
Hi, Madam President, members of the board. Calabasas and Agora have been very busy these past few weeks. At CHS, we've just concluded our Adopt a Family fundraiser this past week. And now this week, CHS has a Spirit Week with dress-up days, nutrition games, and a pep rally at the end of the week. All dress-up days have a holiday theme, such as Merry Monday, where students wear holiday pajamas, Birds Day Thursday, where students wear winter gear, and Winter Wonderland Wednesday, where students wear a full white outfit. Also, Calabasas High School is holding a 7v7 flag football tournament during lunch this week. There is one team per grade with 7 players on each team. We wish our teams luck going into the final round tomorrow. Next Monday, CHS is having a multicultural banquet. Agora High School is currently having its Spirit Week as well, including Pajama Day and Jersey Day. They are also hosting the Spark of Love toy drive in honor of Mr. Cass, and the winning class gets a pizza party. The Winter Jazz Concert and Improv Match are both this Thursday, and the silent auction concluded this Sunday, the largest fundraiser of the year. Both high schools are looking forward to a busy couple of upcoming weeks after the break.
Thank you. Ms. Stein.
Thank you very much. Ms. Davenport, I attended the Willow to see Ethel the cow, and the students were riveted. Their attention, I never knew. Almost 600 students could sit still and just look at something. So they loved every minute. Thank you for arranging that. We heard about the school board conference up in Sacramento that Ms. Cupbill and I participated in one of the modules on how to pass successful bonds, and that was really fun because you never know who's going to come to your session. And like Dr. Stepp said, it was standing room only, and they had to shut the doors and turn people out. So we had a great time. We didn't know what to expect, but there was a lot to share, and boy, were we proud to be able to share our success. And I also attended the Agora Hills reorganization, and congratulations to the new mayor, Elise Buckley Weber.
Thank you, Ms. Stein. Mr. Lawrence.
I'll forgo my comments.
Okay. And Ms. Gaines.
Yes, it is reorganization season, and last night I attended the Hidden Hills reorganization, and
Anything to share?
congratulations to Ms. Gold, who was elected mayor, and that's all I'll say about that. And tomorrow night, I will be attending the Calabasas reorg.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mingus.
As Dr. Stepanowski shared, I participated with several cabinet members at the Westlake Village Holiday Sing-Along, and that was a lot of fun, a very fun community event. And then I get to attend the Westlake City Council reorg meeting tomorrow night with Ms. Cupbill.
Thank you, Ms. Mingus. Okay. Moving into hearing of delegations and comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda.
We did track down the photo from our
Oh,
outbox.
we got the owl. Oh, look.
Where is it?
Right there.
Oh, there it is. I'm like, that looked like a rock.
Horse to water.
Okay.
So it looks like it's on the ground, though, right? It's not in the owl box, that's on the ground.
Yeah,
on the
is that
hill.
on the, yeah, wow.
It is amazing. I know that.
Look at the wings.
That's beautiful.
Oh, and there's the coyote.
Eating an owl.
Yeah, oh, wow.
They're big animals, they're big.
Wait, go back to the owl.
Is the coyote actually on the campus?
Yes.
We live, this is what's great about our schools. We're
Isn't it
in the
fenced
country.
in, so it's jumping the fence?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them
big.
jump the 6-foot wall of my neighbors more than a few occasions. Yeah, they're pretty.
That is
There's no keeping them out.
spectacular.
Dr. Gleason, are we
Oh.
getting any facility use fees from these animals on campus?
We'll look into that.
Oh,
I
the
have to talk
bunny.
to Mr.
Oh,
Paganino.
Bunny, look out, there's an owl. Run, Bunny. Oh, and there's a kite. Oh, you've got raccoons?
You got the bunny, the owl.
Oh, look, a raccoon.
Yeah. That's a big coyote.
Was this all one night?
And do Ms. Falk, do I
party
recall
going on
that they
there.
actually had the box and that they were asking permission to put the camera in, but the box was there?
No, they actually put the box
Okay.
in.
I thought
also.
there was some
It's Grand
impetus
Central
to
Station
putting
at
it
this
there.
box.
Got the three
That
raccoons going
is-
over the fence.
I know.
So do they share the camera with the students every day, or only if there's something that comes up? I mean, the students, do they ask about it every day? I would.
They ask about the owl, and we share the owl.
Oh.
We're not really sharing our raccoons because they've been on campus multiple times having fun.
We actually have a very dramatic video of the raccoons going all over campus on the security cameras and stealing the fruit from the gardens.
Yes,
and-
I have a raccoon issue.
Should be a TV show.
I was going to say, though, a lot of these cameras, get a lot of traffic, so we could be like the
That is
the eagle camera.
fantastic.
Squirrels, bunnies.
There's science right there for you.
There you go. That's excellent.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Nothing regarding items not on the agenda, so we'll move into consent A.
I'll make a motion to approve consent A.
Second. Oops, somebody second. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Consent A passes. Consent B, board only vote.
I'll make a motion to approve consent B.
Second.
Thank you. Board vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Action items. Approval of first interim budget report. Dr. Gleason.
Look, it says 3 minutes.
No, it doesn't, does it?
3 minutes per slide.
You had him worried there.
Madam President, members of the board, I regret that wildlife has eclipsed this first interim budget report. Just want to start off, as the board knows very well, we are a very new team in the business department, but I couldn't be prouder of the team to put together the 200 pages that you see in front of you, and to do it with accuracy and real thought. Takes a village, and our leadership team is here. We have, as of 30 seconds ago, our new Assistant Directors of Finance and Accounting, Mr. Andrew Laxon and Ms. Diane Ha. And then we have our Senior Accountant, Ms. Tammy Ventry of Bond and Facilities Projects. And then Gabe Paganine, who's actually getting his photo taken right now by Ms. Davenport, is our Account Tech 5. All four, along with a couple others who couldn't be here tonight, are integral in putting this together. In fact, Mr. Paganine is a graduate of the Las Virgenes Unified School
Going to say,
District.
I do recognize.
And he survived having a cabinet member as a teacher. So Dr. Cyphers was his English teacher.
Yes.
So we're glad he came back.
Thank you. Yes.
Very interesting first interim for the board tonight to share. Of course, we share updates periodically as we get them, but this has been a fascinating month and was not on our bingo card as we look at the fiscal outlook. So there's 3 chapters to tonight's 3-minute presentation. The first is the fiscal outlook. The second is where our first interim landed, and then the third is reasons or strategies that we are doing to navigate this and be strategic as a district. So with the November tax deadline, which was unique to last year, the state followed the federal tax deadline. The Legislative Analyst Office and the Governor's Office really dramatically overestimated the revenues. So there's a $68 billion budget problem now that the state has to reconcile. For us, this can mean a variety of things, which we won't know about until January, but the first interim is always the cliffhanger before the January budget is initially released. Given that right now we are billions below projections, the legislature has to address this. And there's a number of tools that they can utilize, and all have pros and cons in terms of their impact on Las Virgenes. But we are looking at this being, from the forecast as of today, we're looking at this being our current trend line over the course of the next few fiscal years. What the state can do, and this is all guessing game till January. In the late January board meeting, we'll have more precise overview of where the governor's initial budget is landing. There are $24 billion in reserves that the governor can access right now. And the great news is that can put the duct tape on the hole in the boat from the state level, but those are not money. That's not money that can be used to solve ongoing problems. That's one-time fixes. The second, and this would be really challenging for school districts across the state, is if they reduce the Proposition 98 spending. So because the estimate that we went into this fiscal year was based off of the now, in hindsight, problematic tax revenues collected, the state can now lower the Prop 98 guarantee. What that could mean for us is a deferral. And deferrals mean we promised you this, but we're only going to give you this. And the other thing they can do is reduce one-time spending. The Legislative Analyst Office is encouraging the governor to sweep all existing grant programs and all the one-time money that would go out for those competitive programs to help fund the core Prop 98 LCFF.
Excuse me, and how would that affect Las Virgenes if they swept that money?
Yeah, it depends on what they sweep. So they would, rumor, this is from the LAO through Balfrost Group's analysis last Friday. They have talked about sweeping the amount of revenue owed to districts for the Arts Instructional Materials Block Grant and the Learning Recovery Block Grant. Those two grants total $10 million for Las Virgenes that we are banking on for our continuing the creative one-time programs we put into place when the ESSER funds were released.
Can we surge spending on that before it gets swept?
We wouldn't want to surge spending on that because we would then, if we spent what we have not yet earned, we would then have a deferral. In other words, some districts have negotiated those funds away already, and if the governor chooses to sweep them, that district will have to take a deferral on their LCFF entitlement.
So it's not a sweep in the sense of they're taking unused funds and they're not saying you didn't use your funds, we're going to sweep it back up. They're canceling a program and reclaiming the funds.
Basically, districts like ours made 5-year plans. Not all revenue was received. Some revenue was deferred, and they're saying that deferred revenue no longer would come to you because it's going to fund your LCFF entitlement.
So if we were a district that had not deferred and just eaten it all in the first year, those districts are fine, or they're going to risk losing the money they spent already there in their hole? They have to then pay out of their general fund, pay back the money.
Those districts are in big trouble. You might remember this was one of the solutions that was initially proposed in the May revise last year. Yeah. If we had spent everything, negotiated away, and we would have had $4 million we would have had to find.
To pay back.
To essentially, yes, pay back the revenue that was deferred. So here we are in the first interim, Act 1. There are some clouds on the horizon in terms of the state economy. Act 2, here's where we are for our first interim. I will give the cliff notes, knowing that the board has analyzed this in great detail throughout other committees and whatnot. Essentially, revenues are slightly up. Revenues are up because our enrollment has increased more than we had anticipated. State revenue is down partly because of the home school transportation reimbursement was not as high as we had projected. Local revenue is slightly up because to offset the encroachment on transportation on the general fund, we had a slight increase into transportation payments from families. Overall, our total revenues are up $837,000. Expenditures are also up, but the color turns red when the expenditures are up because when we had our adopted budget, we had not yet settled with LVEA and LVCA. So the adopted budget did not reflect the salary increases that are going to our employees. Books and supplies are down because Ed Services does a fantastic job managing books and supplies, and we are waiting with bated breath on some upcoming adoptions in the next 6 to 18 months. Operating expenditures are up largely because we have increased private security staff to support safety efforts across our district, as well as to backfill places where we have vacancies, such as in special education. So the total expenditures have increased largely because of our settlements by $3.8 million. Impact, so...
By settlements, you don't mean legal settlements, you mean our contract negotiated raises to our workforce.
Correct, yes, thank you for that clarification. So contract negotiated settlements for salary and benefits increases largely which had modest impact to our employees given how the cost of health and welfare have dramatically increased. So we are in the deficit has increased because of those efforts. One thing to align your eyes to is that Fund 17 at the bottom. That Fund 17 is an extension of our reserve, and at this point, we don't project needing to touch that this year. A big part of our, as we look at moving forward, is what's going to happen with our one-time funds is also what's going to happen with enrollment, which leads me to Chapter 3. I know Cabinet is savoring these slides after a 2-hour presentation yesterday, so thank you. So first interim, so for our multi-year projections, these are the disclaimers that we always give. We are, of course, very grateful to our community for Measure E, for the passage of Measure S. We are managing and watching our attendance closely, and we have to look to the state for what our cost of living adjustments are. Projected. We were projecting this year, this was from FICMAT to the Legislative Analyst Office to the Governor's Office, that the 24-25 year would have a 3.95% COLA. They came back and with a sweep of a pen and some, after the November tax deadline, they turned it into a 1% COLA. Next year's COLA, or the 25-26 COLA was going to be close to 3.5%. We don't know where that will land, but all estimates are we'll be lucky if that lands in the 1% to 2% range. And so for us, that means that all of a sudden $10 million goes away. Poof. But here are the assumptions that we based our multi-year projections are. So a static 94.3% ADA, the decline in enrollment, a current enrollment of 95.57. We're still finalizing, actually, Jim, Mr. Klein finalized today our CalPads, and then that 2.5% decline. Of course, step and column increase, and then $4 million in cuts built into fiscal year 24-25, and that should say fiscal year 25-26. Apologies for the typo on that I just noticed with the big screen TV. All that to say, when we just get to what is the most important slide here, we can still, Dr. Cyphers hit our 3% reserve in the 25-26 year. But the big thing is in that final row, Fund 17, you'll see 25-26, the balance would go from 14 million to a little under 1 million. And so we have some things to do. You know, the great news is, or the bad news is, many states or many districts in the state of California are hovering around just statutory reserve levels, and then they get this COLA data, and they have an enrollment decline, and they're facing options that the best option is high interest loans, the worst option is bankruptcy. We have, with the board's direction, put some very important tools into place. So whereas the first 3 chapters of this story tonight could lead to some fear and indigestion, this is reasons for pausing and tempering on some of that. So first off, I cannot state enough how important Ms. Falk's work has been with our principals. The restructure of cabinet around those efforts, and both her and Ms. Rosen have had what is an anomalous impact on ADA to really shift how families and students are viewing attendance of school post-pandemic. That 0.75% increase across the whole district seems like a small amount just on the surface. That's $900,000 right there if it sustains. And that's not built into, that full amount's not built into our multi-year projections tonight. Second, there's about 1,200 homes going into the district. So if you, this slide's from the demographer. So when you see the demographer that we consult with, they say, the demographer says, based on patterns in enrollment in the latest census, right now we should be at about 94-22, and we have about 97-10 in the district, with some of those students being international students or not TK eligible. But I have not seen this on a demographer report in the last few years where you see a positive growth projected. So they're not factoring in any efforts that we're doing to increase enrollment in our district. They're just going on home construction. And so seeing a net change, this is the conservative report of those homes starting in '24 through 2028. Homes, of course, yield students, and with the push across the state for low-income housing, we believe that could attract more families.
So this doesn't include projected low-income housing?
This does include all the all the upcoming developments.
All of them?
But I don't think
Because
it includes what was, sorry. Yeah,
I was just going to say,
approved.
yeah,
Like
The Westlake
the
one is-
Commons is going to
is
be
huge.
160 units. That was just approved last week. You've got.
how many units at Westlake is like?
700 there.
Right.
You've got 100 or so next to City Hall. You've got 120 or 40 at Commons.
Across
You've
the
got
street.
2 locations in Agora as well.
Dorothy Drive and Agora Road. The only one the demographer didn't factor in, because they went off of what the city's, the latest plan that went to the city council for each of these, is what just recently happened with Calabasas in terms of the back and forth over that
Which will
land.
be another 170 or so units.
And those are homes.
So it's only going to be more than this at some
single-family
point,
homes.
as low-income housing rolls out?
Absolutely. Per the, using the FICMAT multiplier on the number of homes that are coming in, we think it's about 600, 650
Students?
students.
Wow. And this is very conservative, and they always are conservative. in
And
their
that's the number no, it's smaller than that.
And,
Oh, no, it is.
so we, going back to the multi-year projection, we projected, we are looking at, always when we do multi-year projections, trend lines over time. So we're not going to book data until data manifests.
Right.
And so you see a very conservative first interim report, because we're doing some things that are an anomaly compared to the past 10-year trend line.
I understand.
Just as a total aside, is it facilities or where does it land? I mean, we have a vested interest in making sure that these developments, I mean, they're going to have an outsized impact on our schools in some of these areas, because it's a lot in some small areas. Like across the street, we could be adding 400 new car trips a day to Las Virgenes if that development goes through, which would impact our schools here and other things. Do we have a seat at these tables after they're approved, as we're thinking about what changes need to happen to the roads for our schools, for fire access to our schools, other things that the cities need to be building into their thinking and planning when they do their environmental reports?
Yeah, that would all be covered under environmental impact report, and, I could, of course, make sure city managers are keeping us updated on that. I don't know that we have a seat at the table. I mean, obviously, as elected, you can reach out, interact with the city council members. With the builder's remedy and high-density bonus, a lot of the control and decision-making is taken out of the city's hands. So they really, to some extent, are hands off the wheel. Which is the intention of the state and the governor, I think, and I don't think our city councils are appreciative of that fact. So they have limited authority here. What we will receive is developer fees, and that money is used to manage the impact on our campuses.
Thanks.
The developer fees just for like the Dorothy Drive project alone, I believe the developer estimated $9 million just for that project. And
To Las Virgenes?
to Las
9 million?
Virgenes. Right.
How many, was it 80 units?
I think it's low hundreds, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
It's not a huge project.
Where on Dorothy Drive is that?
It's
It's
Right
that
up-
hill right off the 101, just past the wildlife crossing.
Yeah, I know where Dorothy Drive is.
And it's
But
on the
where
side of the
Dorothy?
street that's where the freeway is. It's not across the street.
Got it.
It's right where the
It's
freeway is.
sandwiched up against the freeway.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Enrollment, so we've been, a shout out to Mr. Klein's team, and of course, Ms. Patterson, Ms. Davenport, who oversee this every day in terms of marketing our schools and the amazing programs they have. Again, we are projecting for next year in the first interim to be around 9,300 students. Right now, because we did the early enrollment data, or an early enrollment period, we already have enrollment data that suggests that we're relatively conservatively at 9,850 students. There are some sites that are losing enrollment, but some are gaining substantial enrollment, such as Chaparral could be a 630-student school, potentially, as an example.
Does this account for, we always get a number of students who decide somewhat late in the game, that rather than Stell or Lindero, they will come to AE Wright for the GATE program. So does that factor in that at all?
Yeah, so the A rate's going to be low because the gate assessments won't happen until February. So that's
But that'll change, right?
that'll most likely be
Okay.
the one that has the most impact.
Can you speak to the district being very proactive this year in changing the date for enrollment? The application or the date for enrollment?
Yeah, in the past, we would open enrollment right around this time of year, and then we wouldn't notify families until March 1st. Private schools around us and some other areas, they would take in applications and notify families of their acceptance in the fall. So our thought was we should do the same. We shouldn't have families wait 3 months if they're really interested in getting to Las Virgenes to get a confirmation. So we've had families, we've bumped up the timeline 2 months. Our principals are giving tours. They're doing a fantastic job. Mr. Klein's efforts, along with Ms. Johnson in terms of marketing, have now allowed us. So we are sending out conditional acceptances for families now applying into our district who now in December and January can commit to LVUSD without having to apply to other places. And so
That's great.
One more question. Can we move up the timeline for the GATE assessments? Would there be a benefit to that?
our gate assessments are, it's a complicated question. We might want to unpack more in committee because we want to make sure we have a consistent assessment mechanism, and we also have to market the program and have information nights for families. And so we have 3 times the number of students that are accepted get assessed. And so for one psychologist to do several hundred assessments now is tricky.
I have had just a random question I've always wondered about. Since it's here, maybe I'll ask you if you know the answer to it. I've tried to figure out where the extra 600 kids in high school come from. So if you add up all 3 of our middle schools, you get 2,100 students. That's only 3 grades. So let's take, let's add another quarter to that. It's 2,800 students. In theory, would be our feeder that would be going into high school, right? If you did a like-for-like replacement, move them 4 years up. But we have 3,400 kids in our high school. Even if you throw in the 50 for Mariposa, where are the other, do we have 500 kids starting in our high schools that weren't, is that kind of normal with are we a destination where you start in private or somewhere else and you shift to us for high school?
Yeah, when you look at the demographic trends, they're really fascinating, but our biggest bumps are 6th and 9th grade. And we see significant amount of kids coming back, a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, I've heard everything. And we have families and students leaving also. Tuition's an impact. I mean, private schools are excellent around us, but they're also 50,000 plus, much more beyond that. So you're paying college plus tuition. But yeah, our 6th and 9th grades really do bump, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I would have thought that you would leave to go to private school for high school maybe, but stay for middle. If you were gonna have one of those options, you would pay for the high school years, but not for the elementary years.
We do have families leave, but we net incoming.
I've heard some families feel like they go private for elementary, the kids will get their foundations.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, but I can
But
see
we
the
keep
thinking
them-
going either way.
We have them
but-
for 4 years, not 3, so the numbers will.
You've got sports and
Inflate
extracurriculars,
as we get-
performing arts centers, I mean, a lot of the smaller privates, don't field the water polo. Lorena doesn't have water polo, Louisville, that swimming, all that kind of stuff, so.
No, I think it's great. I was just always kind of curious about it.
Okay.
So this is an important slide. All slides in the first interim are important, but this one especially. So our multi-year projections that we built on 95, 57, 93, 90, 92, 26. You'll see the estimates that I currently have in the left-hand column. But the difference in revenue, if we had 9,800 students, as is projected right now, show up in the fall, and it's only January, the shift is we would have $4.3 million more in 25, 26. So when we talk about the $4 million and $4 million that we put into the multi-year projection of reductions, that's covered if that shows up. Then you factor in Ms. Falk's great attendance efforts that she loves me to highlight all the time. and some other efforts that the board has put into place in terms of paying off COP debt, in terms of solar going off the grid and the utility costs. There are a lot of tools in our tool belt that we are fortunate to have through the proactive work that the board has done to help us weather. You'll see the revenues in 23, 24, 25, 25, 26. That is what was our reality on that bottom table until 3 weeks ago. And so just to get to that reality, or even close to it, really is requiring creative enrollment and attendance efforts. Our principals are doing a fantastic job. We met with them yesterday and just said, keep on doing the great work. In the meantime, summary is we have a very conservative first interim to present to the board that allows us to navigate the next steps we need to take ahead within the statutory requirement and give us flexibility with how we navigate that. And that's not something we take lightly, because it's years of careful management that has allowed us and afforded us that position. As we go into an uncertain economic period, we'll work together, especially after January, I think, 18th, on how to proceed.
Thank you, Dr. Gleason, and thank you to your team. We know that you are lean and mean over there in business services and with regard to our budget and finance, and we appreciate how much you do and how hard you work, and all that goes into this, and the huge swings, and you must feel like you get whiplash a lot with what comes out of the state. So I have any questions, comments from the board?
Just what Ms. Cutwell said. Thank you very much. I mean, it's exciting to see the possibilities and, cautiously optimistic. So thank you, Dr. Gleason, for your leadership in all this, and thank you to your team, like Ms. Cutwell said. Thank you.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the first interim budget.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
First interim budget report is approved. Thank you, Dr. Gleason. Approval of resolution, let's do a revolution. Resolution 923, annual and 5-year developer fee report dated November 17th, 2023.
Speaking of construction, Dr. Gleason.
We'll just let my team know if they want to head on home, because we got to pay bills tomorrow, so feel free to do that. Otherwise, the cherry on top on a first interim is nothing like a 5-year developer fee report. We are very fortunate to have developer fees built into our government code. The intent of those fees is when new development comes into our area, that has an impact on schools and on districts. And with that, our annual use of, first off, our reported revenues, but also the expenditures is presented to the board. Of all the developer fee reports, you'll want to flag this one in the library, because developer fees we had largely held off on utilizing in the past years as it being earmarked to pay off that COP debt. With how we structured the bond this summer, we utilized Fund 25, or developer fees, and the board had a reimbursement resolution in place so that we could begin capital improvement projects this summer while costs were at the lowest they're going to be, at least for the next coming years. So that's where you'll see more activity than you normally would in this report. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
So for developer fees, there are different rates for like remodeling, right? Are we charging the highest rates for everything we can?
Yes, we're always charging the rate. You'll see coming to a board meeting near you in February, we have a statutory requirement to do a fee study, and so we'll bring an updated fee study to the board in February. But
When? February?
we have a developer fees. Remember, we do a fee study regularly to just adjust and amend those fees.
So do we set the fee? I thought they were set by the state of California.
Yeah.
The fees, we work with the consultants to work within the government code to recommend to the board based on factors I don't fully have in front of me what the fee rate should be.
So I guess that gets to the point I was raising a moment ago, because I think when you have a small project here and a small project there and a home remodel, those kind of add up slowly, and you'll need eventually you're going to need another classroom. But when you add 700 people, and you're adding 600 trips, you're going to potentially need streetlights where we didn't have them before. We're going to need crossing guards in streets where we didn't have them before, because we're going to need a crossing guard here if we have 200 homes across the street that we didn't need to have before.
I think they're apartments, actually.
What's that?
What?
I think they're apartments, actually.
The ones over here, I thought single-family homes. The ones
No,
that-
they were the
that keep
original.
They
suing.
were.
They were. They're now apartments.
They're gonna have lots of
have
kids. They're
kids.
gonna lots of give it. So is there? Or do we have a? Are we thinking about how do we push it for, because we have this mass threshold coming? There's gonna be some larger projects that are gonna be all happening at once. We would not have needed before potentially, where the scale might need to be higher for the developer fees. If we have that, I didn't realize we had that flexibility. I thought it was up to the state of California. So.
It is up to the state. So the reason we have consultants, and every district I'm familiar with, do this report is you take what is a baseline of the per square footage cost, and then you adjust it to the geographic costs of the area you're in. So a square foot might cost more in Calabasas than it does in Bakersfield. And so it's those factors that go into the study. If you think about the homes, so we have 1,200, you have 1,200 homes, multiply it, what's the average square feet? Square footage, 2,000, and so napkin math, times $5.12 a square foot. And you get a pretty significant chunk of change. And the reason is back in the day when 693 homes in Westlake Village would lead to 600 students in enrollment, those fees were entitled to help build schools and add classrooms. With declining enrollment across the state, developer fee flexibility is in place to where you can spend the money on things that are a natural impact of increased enrollment. So crossing guards, to your point, but more.
The fee is a one-time fee, right? We're not getting any type of ongoing every year fee for the fact that you just dropped potentially 3,000 car trips, 800 new students, whatever it might be, so.
Yeah, the fee is a one-time fee to make capital improvements to your facilities to handle a state, when the statute was put in place, a state that is increasing in enrollment. When we used to talk about population problems in the opposite direction.
Many of our schools still have classrooms available or space available to add portables or whatever if that need arises. And then street repairs and crossing guards, right now our cities are, paying for crossing guards, so.
Yeah, we have about, we've brought back TK, but we're down about 3,000 students from our peak.
Right.
So that's sort of the
Right.
excess capacity minus the TK additions. But I think this is going to be the predominant story for this region for quite some time. I mean, 1,200 units, I don't know that we've had, I'm trying to think of the last development we've had that was
You're not moving out here unless you have kids.
anything significant. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if apartments, change the equation a lot. Typically, single families with little kids don't want apartments, but,
Single. He's 30 years
you know,
old and single.
with the cost of apartments, that might
And he bought a house.
I would look at it.
be what they do.
Yeah.
Or a starter. So it'll be a lot. It'll be a lot for the cities. They're going to have to manage it.
Yep.
A lot of the units are proposed to be pretty close to the 101, so, that's a relative positive, relative to traffic rather than something deeper into neighborhoods, but it'll be an impact. And that's what the state wants. The state wants, they're pressing the same issues in Palo Alto. I think they've got an 8-story or something like that proposed in Palo Alto, which is very residential. 4,500 units proposed in Santa Monica. Another couple of places as well. So it's going to be a big story, a big impact coming forward.
Will that go through, it usually goes through facilities, but I feel it should go through finance in a way.
The developer fee study?
Yeah,
I probably would bring it to both.
yeah, it's both, yeah.
And then about developer fees, Ryan explained very well. The state doesn't set our rates, but they set a bandwidth with which we can change them. So they give us a formulaic based on cost of construction. So they sort of prescribe how much we can increase the rates by, I guess is the best way to say.
And what's is there a downside to being at the top of that bandwidth, to Ms. Stein's point?
No, well, we push it. You
Yeah.
want to be sensitive towards, construction and impacting residents. Really, I mean, gosh, the last, I don't know, 10 years.
None of these developers
it's-
are going to pull their project based
No.
on our
No, it won't, your developers aren't going to mind. Your
Yeah.
residential, improvements, which is what we've seen
Right.
for the last 20 years,
Right.
someone tearing down a 1,200 foot and putting up a 3,200 square foot. That's, so our residents have done that. So you want to be sensitive to the impact on them. But, a lot of this is happening with residents who have significant means.
So there isn't a different scale for new construction versus renovation. It's the same price per square foot once you reach a certain threshold?
Yeah, the difference is you have to subtract in a renovation, you have to subtract what the original square footage was. There is different.
You don't have to, though. We'll revise, we'll take a look at that.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I said. Are we charging the most we can? So when you bring this to facilities and finance, we'd like to dig into that.
Yeah, we did a mini spot check with former city councilman,
Right.
former city manager, Kerry Gallman, just to check, because there were some significant projects that were popped up there, and they had met all the permitting requirements and had gone through the city with fidelity. So our spot check was helpful and edifying and enlightening to me, but it was good to see that everyone was following the procedures, because we rely on our cities. We have, when someone remodels our house, we have no way of knowing unless the cities talk to us.
Yeah, that's true.
You want a motion to approve?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve Resolution 9-23, annual and 5-year developer fee report.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gleason, for that. Moving on to information items. First two items are board and superintendent committee assignments. I think they speak for themselves unless anyone wants to dive into them. It's the usual. Please send me your preferences and,
One suggested change, Madam President, or an item we've discussed, which is also on the agenda, is potentially forming a new board committee, a data committee.
yes, making it enshrining it as an actual board committee. So when we would approve that, that would remain on the list as a board. It seems too important and too central to what we do as we start to change curriculum and pilot materials, and we're always changing classes. We didn't stop looking at data, but during the pandemic, we really moved away and focused more on student mental health. But data is going to be a big part of everything we do. So it seemed too important not to make it an actual board committee.
Do we just do that, or do we have to vote on it? How
I
does that
think
work?
when we just approve the list of committees is what we looked into, that is just, then it is a board committee. So.
Yeah, don't have a more eloquent name for that. I'm certainly open to any suggestions, and I suppose the focus is student achievement data. I mean,
You could call it student achievement. It
mean,
might be
'cause-
better than data. Data's a little.
I know, we've got enrollment data, we've
I
got,
love the simplicity and directness of data, because I
Okay.
just
Sure.
think, because I thought there was real value to saying, that committee is where you literally go into the depths of the
Yeah.
weeds. And then pathways, curriculum, and others are really in many ways in charge with then operationalizing that data, I think, in some ways for student achievement. I think that was kind of, but I love just being clear that this is a meeting where you bring your data.
And what I like too is Dallas and I, we had just a handful of meetings so far since the fall, or maybe 3 meetings, is we help shape what would come to the board for data. And data, like Mr. Lawrence just said, can be enrollment data, enrollment trends.
I
honing
was going to
down-
say, it
Right.
covers a huge, the breadth of the district. And I think it's too important, and we haven't really sort of embedded that in as something that, a committee that looks at a lot of different things.
Thank you, Mrs. Cutbill, for bringing
Safety,
that
wellness,
forward. Thank
anything.
you.
Yeah.
The other discussion was potentially moving the foundation from a board committee to a superintendent committee. Operationally, functionally, almost no difference. Nothing's more or less important. They're all significant. But I think Ms. Cutbill's comments were edifying, is that on the superintendent committees, it's often outside agencies or staff bringing forward information. The board committees are certainly chaired, run, operated, and directed by board.
Right. That was, so minor changes, but important ones. Okay. Revision to board policy and administrative regulation 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures.
Oh, we have superintendent? Oh, did I?
Well, we talked
Kind of
about
lump them
both.
together.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Falk does an excellent job of spending time with attorneys so we can avoid doing that and keeping us legal. And so we appreciate her reviewing and updating our BPs and ARs to make sure we are in compliance with all CSBA recommendations and changes. Ms. Falk?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Forward to tonight is a revision to BPAR 1312.3, our UCP complaint procedures, and this is in alignment with new laws that have come into place after 2017, which was the last time this was updated and revised. Specifically, some of the changes are adding discrimination in relation to selection of textbooks, formulating more the graduation policies for foster and homeless children, and defining in a more succinct term the discrimination and how it applies in terms of students. So those are the proposed major revisions to this board policy and AR.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Appreciate that. Seems straightforward. And revision to Board Policy 0410, non-discrimination in district programs and activities. Last updated in 2001.
Ms. Falk.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, before you tonight is a revision to Board Policy 410. There is no corresponding AR, and it really is relation to new laws that have come into effect since 2001, which there are a considerable amount, updating what is considered unlawful discrimination, also not being able to separate students on the basis of race, talking about curriculum choices, and expanding the list of characteristics for which discrimination is prohibited, and this is in line with the current state laws.
So I have a couple, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions about this one, and it kind of sat, I'm generally not comfortable with label politics and this kind of, I mean, we've added like 11 here, categories, everything from, you know, ethnic group identification as being separate from actual ethnicity. And so and I think it's fine if we want to do these things. Where I guess where it bothers me is the opening line eliminates the need for all the things after the comma, and that is the district programs and activities shall be free from unlawful discrimination, period. Like, we don't need the 47 describers that come after it. We do not allow.
All the different ways in which you can.
Because because we're going to forget somebody, someone's going to be left off. I understand that this is what CSBA does, but like the identity politics here, and I'm not saying that we're doing them, I know this was recommended to us to do, I don't feel is necessary if we just adopt the first line and keep it simple and says, we will not allow any unlawful discrimination, period. And that covers everything that's unlawful, so that someone doesn't say, well, you didn't include this, or we need to update that. So I know we're just talking about it today, but I feel like we need to be simple and direct. Whether it's no place for hate, simple and direct. We're very clear as a district. There is no place for discrimination here, period.
I appreciate that it says against an individual or group, so therefore it is not context dependent.
Ms. Falk,
If I may.
would you address this, please? Did you talk to any attorneys about this?
Yeah, I always do when I update these BPs and ARs. And it is in alignment with what state law has in terms of the differences between gender identity, gender expression, and it was under the advice.
No, I understand that, but
It is quite a laundry list.
It is.
And to Mr. Lawrence's point, you know, what haven't we thought of?
and I guess my broader point is, there's nothing legally additive after the comma. Because the sentence says, district programs and activities shall be free from unlawful discrimination. So whatever the state of California decries as unlawful discrimination, if all these groups are that, if they add 4 more in the next 2 years, we won't need to update the BP or the AR, because we will have said, if it's against the law, you can't do it in our district. So I just have a visceral rejection to this.
Excess verbiage?
Yes.
I mean, I get that. I can only tell you from years, and you guys have done too, working with attorneys, if you don't explicitly say in a policy, it can become vague, it can become open to interpretation, which is why lawyers always recommend that you spell out exactly what the policy is. I understand what Mr. Lawrence is saying, but this is why people do this in board policies and ARs, because they don't want any vague language in terms of what is interpretation.
So what is ethnic group identification, and how is that different from ethnicity?
It's what group you identify with versus which group you are.
So if I choose to identify as an African American in this district, and I'm not, that's protected by this by BP?
I'm going to reword that. If you choose to register your child as African American, The district does not judge whether or not you are African American. It's how you choose to register your child.
And would we count that child for purposes of state recording for our number of ethnic diversity as an African American?
If the parent enrolled their child as such, yes.
I personally and professionally feel confident in keeping the legal language that CSBA does their hard work with lawyers. They draft this with lawyers. You've had lawyers look at it. I'm comfortable with that.
And I don't necessarily disagree with
Right,
you,
I agree.
Ms.
Yes.
Lawrence, but I think another board, then someone would come in with that issue and they would say, they would be discriminated, it's not spelled out, they could, board can make a decision, but it's following state law. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think we're just best off following the.
So then I got to ask what some of the other ones are, because reproductive health decision-making. What are we protecting there? Because we're already protecting pregnancy. So what is reproductive? I looked these up and I couldn't find a definition of what reproductive health decision-making. These are for minors. So what are we protecting there?
Well, it doesn't have to be a pregnancy per se.
Correct.
Right.
Birth control, stuff like that, reproductive health.
So we won't discriminate based on, I'm trying to understand how we would discriminate on somebody based on that. We would not allow them into our school if they took birth
Well,
control?
could a
Well, I
high
don't think
schooler
it's-
adopt
I
a
don't
child
think-
too?
So
I mean-
here's what I think it means, and again, these are somewhat vague in the sense of, so if you have somebody who has a particular belief, a principle, or somebody who has a particular belief about reproduction, abortion, anything like that, the intent of this is to make sure that no matter what your personal beliefs are, all rights are protected from a student, regardless of what your own personal beliefs are. And that's really the intent of all of this, that all of us come with a personal set of beliefs, but in the school system, we have to be unbiased and respect everybody's in terms of as long as it doesn't infringe upon the rights of others. And that's the intent behind all of this.
I love that. I wish that's what it just said. I know we can't have that, but I wish it just said what you just said just now, and we didn't have to have 47 disclaimers.
And lawyers write this, lay people do not, and they do that for a particular reason, to take out any kind of vague interpretation of what it is.
Right, they are trying to protect
Understood.
districts, so.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me talk it out. I appreciate it.
No, I always enjoy these discussions about these policies and what they mean and what our intent is, and very much appreciate it. And that's our final item, so I am now going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.